Harper always knew she would be a mother one day. It was a certainty she carried in her heart since childhood, when her small hands already cradled dolls with tenderness, humming lullabies that her own mother used to sing. In her light pink bedroom, there was a special corner with a little rocking chair where she spent hours taking care of her family of dolls. "Are they all fed?" Aunt Elisa would ask upon finding Harper, then 6 years old, carefully arranging 5 dolls in a row. "Yes, they just had dinner. Now I'm going to tell them a story so they can sleep well," the girl would respond seriously. "When I am a real mommy, I'll have many children, at least 5. While the other girls her age gradually abandoned their dolls as they grew up, Harper maintained her caregiving ritual. In her teenage years, she became the neighborhood's preferred babysitter. Her light brown eyes would light up with genuine joy when holding a baby in her arms. "You have a knack for this," the parents who entrusted their children to her would say. "You'll be a great mother one day." And Harper would smile, because those words confirmed what her heart already knew. When she met Kevin at a mutual friend's birthday party, she was immediately drawn to him. It wasn't just his easy smile, or the way his blue eyes seemed to see through any barrier. It was the way he interacted with the young nieces and nephews at the party. There was a natural patience, a genuine affection that Harper recognized as familiar, the same that she felt. "They are lovely," commented Harper, approaching while Kevin helped a boy of about 4 assemble a puzzle. "My nephews are my best friends," he replied, with a smile that lit up his face. "I have 3 older sisters, all with children. I can't wait to have my own." Those words were like music to Harper. They talked for hours that night, discovering numerous common interests, but most importantly the shared dream of having a large family. The courtship was brief and intense. Just 8 months later, Kevin proposed to her during a picnic in a flowered field. Harper still remembered that moment perfectly. The sky was a perfect blue, the wildflowers swaying in the gentle breeze, and Kevin, nervous, dropping the velvet box before managing to open it. "I want to build a life with you," he said, eyes glistening. "I want to raise our children together, teach them to ride a bike, help them with their homework, see you rocking our babies. Will you marry me?" The response was immediate, as were the tears of joy that ran down Harper's face. The wedding was simple and intimate, with only family and close friends in attendance. Dana, Kevin's mother, welcomed Harper into the family with a warm embrace. "My son has never been so happy," Dana confided during the reception, "and I know you both will be wonderful parents one day." Harper felt an immediate connection with her mother-in-law. Dana was warm and welcoming, always available to help but never intruding on the young couple's space. The relationship between Kevin and his mother was special. He called her almost daily, sharing news and asking for advice. Harper appreciated this bond, seeing in it a reflection of the kind of family she wanted to build herself. The first 3 years of marriage were about adaptation, financial consolidation, and planning. They moved to a 2-bedroom house in a quiet neighborhood with a small garden where Kevin planted a fruit tree. "For our children to climb one day," he explained as he dug the hole for the apple sapling. Harper kept the 2nd bedroom empty, occasionally visiting it to imagine what it would be like when it was decorated with a crib, colorful mobiles, and shelves filled with children's books. She bought a small yellow teddy bear, the first of many toys she planned to give to the son or daughter who would come. When they finally decided it was the right time to start trying, anticipation took over. Harper downloaded apps to track her menstrual cycle, bought ovulation tests, and started taking prenatal vitamins. Kevin, equally enthusiastic, began researching child development and educational methods. "This month it's going to work, I'm sure," Harper would say at the beginning of each cycle. But a month went by, then 2, 3, 6. Each negative test brought a greater disappointment than the previous one. Harper tried to remain optimistic, but the anxiety began to grow silently, settling in her chest like a weight that increased with each passing day. "Maybe we're putting too much pressure on ourselves," Kevin suggested after 9 months of unsuccessful attempts. They say stress can affect fertility. You're right, Harper agreed, though fear was already rooted in her heart. After a year of trying, Harper finally gave in to Kevin's suggestion to seek medical help. The first consultation with the fertility specialist was encouraging. The doctor explained that it was common for couples to take up to a year to conceive naturally, and that they would perform tests to identify possible obstacles. In the following weeks, Harper underwent a battery of tests: ultrasounds, blood tests to check hormone levels, and hysterosalpingography to verify the patency of her tubes. Kevin also did his part, undergoing semen analysis and other tests. The anxiety grew with each passing day. Harper tried not to think of the worst, but it was hard not to imagine devastating scenarios while they awaited the results. The day of the appointment to discuss the results arrived on a grey autumn afternoon. Harper felt a knot in her stomach as she entered the doctor's office, squeezing Kevin's hand tightly. "Mrs. and Mr. Harris, I have reviewed all the results," Dr. Mendez began, with a serious expression. "Unfortunately, I don't have good news." The words that followed seemed distant, as if they were being said in another room through a thick wall. Premature ovarian failure, few remaining ovarian follicles, low ovarian reserve, practically 0 chances of natural conception. "Are there treatments?" Kevin asked, his voice breaking through the fog that had formed in Harper's mind. "We could try in vitro fertilization, but with Mrs. Harris's condition, the chances are extremely low, less than 5%, the doctor replied. "I'm sorry." The drive home was silent. Harper looked out the car window, watching people walking on the sidewalks, mothers pushing strollers, fathers carrying children on their shoulders. A world that now seemed to belong to another dimension, a dimension she would never have access to. At home, Harper went straight to the room she had reserved for the baby that would never come. She sat on the empty floor, hugged the little yellow bear, and allowed herself finally to break down in tears. Kevin found her like that, curled up in the corner of the room. Without saying a word, he sat next to her and hugged her. His own eyes were red and swollen too. "We will overcome this together," he whispered. "No matter what happens." The following days were a blur. Harper took a few days off work, unable to face casual questions or maintain a facade of normalcy. Kevin tried to be strong, preparing meals she barely touched, ensuring she bathed and didn't stay in bed all day. On the 3rd day after the devastating news, the doorbell rang. Kevin went to answer and returned minutes later. "It's my mother," he said gently. "She brought homemade soup and that chocolate you like. You don't have to see her if you're not feeling up to it." Harper nodded silently, grateful for the consideration. She heard Kevin return to the living room, where Dana was waiting for him. After taking a quick shower, Harper headed to the hallway bathroom, passing near the living room. That's when she heard the conversation between mother and son. "Mum, I don't think Harper is in a condition to receive visitors. I think she needs some time to process the news," Kevin said, his voice full of concern. "I understand, my son. Tell her I'm very sorry." "And how are you, my son, dealing with this news?" Dana asked, her voice gentle. Harper stopped in the hallway, not wanting to interrupt the moment between mother and son. Kevin needed this space to process his own feelings, something he might not be able to do completely in her presence, trying to be strong. "Oh, Mum." Kevin's voice broke, and Harper could hear the cry he had been holding back. "You know how I always dreamed of being a father. Every time a nephew was born, I imagined when it would be my turn to have my own baby in my arms. I am heartbroken by this news." Harper's chest tightened at hearing the pain in her husband's voice. She knew how much this dream meant to him, just as much as it meant to her. A new burden of guilt settled on her shoulders. Not only had she lost her own dream, but she had also taken away Kevin's. Dana immediately sensed her son's pain and, with a heavy heart, enveloped him in a tight embrace. For a moment, she wasn't just the counsellor. She was a mother, feeling every part of Kevin's sorrow as if it were her own. Seeing how shattered her son was, Dana let her maternal instincts take over. Without thinking much, just feeling the need to ease his suffering somehow, she ended up saying something that surprised her as much as it did Kevin. "Kevin, you know how much I like Harper. She is a great person. But if it's the only way to achieve your dream, you should separate from her." Harper felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. A buzzing filled her ears and her legs weakened. She leaned against the wall to keep from falling, feeling the air escape her lungs. The pain of betrayal was sharp, piercing. Dana, who had always been so welcoming, who treated her like a daughter, was suggesting that Kevin abandon her. Before she could walk away, she heard Kevin's firm response. "Mum, I've always dreamed of having children, but I love Harper much more than I love a child I don't have yet. She is my present and my future. We made a vow to be together regardless of what we would face, and we will face this storm together in the same boat." Harper heard the soft sound of metal against metal, recognized it as Kevin's habitual gesture of twisting his wedding ring when talking about important matters. "You are right, my son. I was foolish to say something like that." "You are a man of character," Dana responded, visibly regretful. Harper silently returned to the room, her thoughts and emotions in turmoil. The pain from Dana's words was still there, but Kevin's immediate and firm response had been like a balm. Amidst the storm of her loss, there was an anchor, her husband's unconditional love. When she heard the front door close, indicating that Dana had left, Harper headed to the kitchen. Kevin was there, preparing a sandwich, probably for her, since Harper had barely eaten in the last few days. "I love you, my love. Thank you for being my life partner," said Harper, hugging him from behind. Kevin turned around, surprised by the sudden display of affection after days of emotional distance. His eyes met hers, and he seemed to understand instantly. "Forever and in any situation, my love," he replied, placing a gentle kiss on her forehead. Harper didn't mention that she had overheard the conversation. It wasn't necessary. What mattered was what she had discovered, that her marriage was stronger than any adversity. In the months that followed, Harper and Kevin began to redesign their dreams. The process was slow and painful, with days of deep sadness alternating with moments of acceptance and renewed hope. "What if we considered adoption?" Kevin suggested one evening, while they shared a glass of wine in the garden under the small apple tree that was already beginning to grow. Harper looked up, meeting her husband's sincere gaze. "Would you really consider that?" "Harper, I want to be a father, yes, but more than that, I want to build a family with you. And family isn't just about blood ties." They began researching the adoption process, attended support groups for couples in similar situations, and gradually the wound began to heal. Not completely. Harper knew there would always be a part of her that would mourn not being able to feel a baby growing in her womb, but enough so they could look to the future with renewed hope. Dana, after the unfortunate incident, made a point of showing her support for the couple's decision. She sent them articles on adoption, introduced them to a friend couple who had adopted 2 children, and even offered to help prepare the house when the time came. "You will be wonderful parents no matter how it happens," she said during a family dinner, her gaze meeting Harper's with a silent plea for forgiveness. Harper smiled in response, understanding that the words spoken on that difficult day came from a place of maternal concern, not malice. The adoption process was long and at times discouraging. Endless forms, interviews, home visits, preparatory courses. There were moments when the wait seemed endless, but Harper and Kevin supported each other. During those 2 years, they also rediscovered one another. They traveled to places they'd always wanted to visit, dedicated themselves to new hobbies, and participated in social projects. "We are living, not just waiting," Kevin said once, while watching the sunset on a beach after a day of volunteering at a local school. And then, after 26 months of waiting, came the call that would change their lives forever. "Mr. and Mrs. Harris, we have a newborn. The biological mother has chosen your profile. Could you come to the shelter tomorrow? The next day, with racing hearts and trembling hands, Harper and Kevin met Emma. She was just 5 days old, with dark, fine hair and deep blue eyes that seemed to contain the entire sky. When the social worker placed the small bundle in Harper's arms, something extraordinary happened. All the years of pain, disappointment and waiting simply dissolved. Looking at Emma's perfect little face, Harper knew immediately. This was her daughter. The bond formed instantly, as strong and natural as any biological connection could be. "Hello, Emma," she whispered, tears freely streaming down her face. "We've waited so long for you." Kevin was by her side, equally moved, his finger firmly held by Emma's tiny hand. After all the legal procedures were completed, Emma officially became a Harris. The celebration gathered the whole family, with Kevin's sisters and their children, now Emma's cousins, Harper's parents, and Dana, who couldn't hold back the tears as she held her granddaughter. "She is perfect," Dana said, looking in awe at little Emma, who was now smiling and babbling joyfully. "And you two are exactly the parents she deserves." That night, after all the guests had left and Emma finally fell asleep in her crib, set up in the room that had long remained empty, Harper and Kevin sat on the garden swing under the apple tree that was now bearing its first flowers. "Do you have any regrets?" Harper asked softly, looking up at the stars. "About what?" "About staying with me, even knowing that we couldn't have biological children." Kevin turned to face her, taking her hands in his. "Harper, never doubt that. Emma is our daughter in every way that matters, and you are the only woman I could imagine building this family with." Harper rested her head on Kevin's shoulder, feeling a deep peace. The path had been different from what they had planned, with unexpected turns and painful obstacles. But the destination, the love, the family they now formed, was more beautiful than they could have ever imagined. The dream had not died. It had merely transformed into something equally precious, equally miraculous. And in every smile of Emma, in every little discovery, in every shared moment, they found confirmation that some redesigned dreams can be as beautiful as the original ones. Sometimes, even more so. If you enjoyed the story, please leave a comment with a rating from 1 to 5 to show how much you liked it. Also, watch the video that is now appearing on your screen. See you soon.